Hello, and welcome to Life Lived and Lessons Learned. Now, you're probably looking at this and thinking, what the hell is going on? Don't worry, I'll explain it all in a sec. But this was all birthed off of the back of my very dramatic rebrand that happened not so long ago, where I think in the history of my time online, I was the most extra I've ever been in my life. But off of the back of that, I was like, I kind of just want to reinvent myself and I want to start something for us. I want to talk about mistakes. I want to talk about personal growth. I want to talk about wisdom, things I've learned along the journey, things you've learned along the journey. It's kind of just a place where we can come together and share our insights, whether that's in the comments or, creating a community on Instagram, a sisterhood, if you will. Well, including brothers. So what would that be? A bristerhood. Sure. Yeah, at the end of this, I just want us to be the best versions of ourselves. I do have to say, disclaimer, I'm not your pastor, okay? All right? I'm not your therapist. I'm not your personal trainer, and I'm not your Reiki healer. Yeah? That means don't look at me for answers. I'm just a girl figuring out life, and we're going to figure it out together. So let's start with season 1, episode 1 of Life Lived, Lessons Learned. I'm workshopping the title. It will get better, hopefully. I don't know. Tell me if you like it or not. I don't know. Shut up. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Basically, today I thought we'd start with the rebrand. And I want to title this episode, Don't Be Afraid to Rebrand. Off of the back of me going from Coco Sarel to Sarel, that just basically means that I came into a space where I realized that I wanted to reinvent myself. And I feel like when I was thinking about my rebrand, I was really scared. I'd been thinking about doing this for a while, but definitely in the last year, I was like, I definitely want to rebrand. It's something I really want to do. I'm taking it seriously, but I'm scared to do. I'm scared to pull that plug. And here are some of the things I've learned about rebranding. Basically, rebranding is just a fancy way of saying change. It's just change. It's change that has personal boundaries. I think when you rebrand, you are basically telling other people that the version of you that they knew before is no longer around, and they have to either get on board or get off the train. Like, pick one, but you got to pick one. Like I said, a rebrand is just a fancy word for change. By the way, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notebook because I'm a woman who writes notes now. Why is it important to rebrand and reinvent yourself? I think the more you grow and elevate in life, the more you change, you are naturally just rebranding, whether that's year on year, you're getting older, whether that's you pivot from one job to another, whether that's you were once single, now you're in a relationship, you were once married, now you're divorced. Rebranding just happens naturally. So sometimes I think a lot of us are very unaware that naturally you are changing and you're evolving, but a rebrand is really intentional. It's scary and it's hard. And the reason for that is because you're going from one stage to the next. You're changing from one version of you to another. You are met with a lot of difficult questions. You're met with questions from other people, first of all, who are saying like, why are you rebranding? But that discomfort, because humans are humans, they dislike change. But that discomfort, you should lean into that. And also be okay with making other people feel uncomfortable if it makes you feel better. Sometimes we live in a world where people are very hyper-conscious of other people's opinions. And naturally that does happen. But the older I get, the more I realize, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't want to do that. That's boring old news. No. Also, what's hard about a rebrand is you start to question yourself. There's an element of who am I? The me of last year used to do ABC, but me of this year doesn't want to do that anymore. Do I even know who I am? That is really uncomfortable. It's super duper uncomfortable, but it allows you to go on that personal inward journey. Rebranding can be uncomfortable because people are asking you why you're rebranding and are questioning you and trying to make you act or behave or do things that you used to do. And it can be difficult because also you are also who am I? Who am I in this new season? I don't know who I am. And I think the biggest takeaway basically with a rebrand of any type or a reinvention is don't be afraid of change. Change is one of the most beautiful things ever. And on the other side of change is a better version of you. And even in the transition during the change, you learn so much about your journey. You learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about what you can do, what you can't do. You learn a lot, and you take all those lessons into the new you. And my favorite example of the reason why you should always rebrand is, do you remember Blockbuster? Yeah. If you don't and you're wondering who the heck is Blockbuster, my point exactly. Yeah. They're the losers who didn't want to rebrand. They're the losers who were laughing at Netflix when Netflix came along. Blockbuster was basically like this DVD VHS shop you could go into and rent your DVDs. Think of it as like the library, but for movies. And you'd go in there and you'd pay and you'd get your film, and then you go home, you watch it and you return it. And if you returned it late, there was a late fee, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, Blockbuster was running the game. They had thousands of shops, okay, running the game. Netflix comes along and they're like, do you know what? I don't think people want to go to the shop. I think what we'll do instead is we'll allow people to like order a DVD, we'll send it to your house, and once we send it to your house, you can then just return it in your own time. And Blockbuster were like, who's gonna wanna do that? You absolute losers. And Netflix took over the game. And it was because Blockbuster got cocky and didn't think that they needed to rebrand, and they relied heavily on their old business model. And B, Blockbuster, they had an opportunity to buy Netflix at one point in the 2000s. And they were like, no, we don't want to buy it. We don't think it's necessary. Well, that was a big mistake, wasn't it? You know?
And then after Netflix popped, they asked Netflix to buy them out. And Netflix was like, nah.
No, I didn't know. No way. That's the biggest L I've ever heard of. But yeah, basically Blockbuster are losers. They're losers. And unfortunately, you don't want to be a loser. Okay. So if it is right for you to rebrand, take the leap of faith and rebrand. Luckily, your life is not a business model. Your life is your life. So you can choose at any point to do the rebrand, but don't be afraid to do it. So yeah, in essence, don't be afraid to rebrand. So if you have enjoyed this episode, well, I've got a treat for you, because we are going to be having more of these. We have 8 episodes coming out over the next 8 weeks, and I want to hear from you what it is you're struggling with, what lessons you've learned over the period of your life, what advice you would give to your younger self. Let me know in the comment section. I really want to build a community of all of us to be able to just share some wisdom. I don't know everything. I'm trying to learn too. I'll be up in them comment sections writing in my notes. And I will talk about it. And hopefully at some point we'll even have guests on here. I really want this to be a place where we just better one another. My mum always says, iron sharpens iron, and I am your iron, and I need you to be my iron too.